woke up, told myself to push and never stop. I've been stressed out, watching both these hands around the clock. With my eyes wide, trying to get the panorama shot. Whole world getting blurry to me, answers getting lost. So I watch my back and keep it moving to the front. And remember that the world's yours, do it how you want. You've been waiting here for too long, think it's time for you to move on. Realize that there's real lies in these real times to be strong.
I've been waiting all my life, and it was right before my eyes. Watching all this time slip by, now I realize. You know I've been waiting, 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 waiting. But will you wait for me?
Right-hand side, two giggling buffoons in Toffees and Avenger. Gentlemen, we have so far...
You sound like a reality show host.
So far.
Hello there, welcome to Dating on the Beach.
I'm happy you didn't do the 180 turn looking at the camera like it's an 80s show introduction, you know?
Don't worry, I'll save that for the last days.
Nice.
I'll do the spin, the finger guns, everything. Gentlemen, so far so good. We've had NIP there as a
हेलो भरत सभी लोगों को हाय एंड थैंक यू भरत मेरे काई फ्रेंड हो रहे अरे बिग फैन बोल रहा है थैंक यू। अभी आज टूर्नामेंट है एक अभी स्पोर्ट्स का ही है जो कल किया था मैंने और डे 2 है उसका और वो तुमको पता ही है मतलब ई स्पोर्ट्स के टूर्नामेंट से ही है तो लाइक इसका स्ट्रीम कर रहा हूँ मैं आज और डे 2 है एंड ये शायद से लास्ट मैच है। आज एक ही मैच होने वाला है मिरामार का तो हाँ एक ही है शायद से एक मैच ही है देखता हूँ अभी देखते रहो लाइक कर देना सब लोग।
At the end of the day, you got to make the wins happen, whether or not you lose someone in a rotation or you get a bad circle. It's about executing.
Yeah, definitely. So we did actually briefly bring up ENCE, but I want to go from one Finnish team to another Finnish team as we have 4 more games left today, with Brazilian Crusaders starting off the day strong and NIP getting themselves that chicken dinner just before. And again, do remember, in the middle of all of that, in between the 3 games and the 3 games, we will have that little bit of an extended break so the players can recharge, refuel, get themselves some grub. And that will be nice. But yes, from one Finnish team to another, we had ends before. Now I want to talk to you guys about Winstrike. So far in the first 2 games, actually very impressive. 4th place with 6 kills. And then going into game number 2, 5th place with 3 kills. So good by Winstrike so far.
I mean, Winland has impressed me from the get-go. Winstrike had such a good attitude coming into this event. I mean, they said, we didn't even expect to be in the top 4 of PEL Toppies. We've been working really hard to be ready for this thing, so I expect great things out of them.
Yeah, and on top of that, 10 of the 16 guys that are here from PEL is Finnish. So that's pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, very impressive to say the least. Finland's a really good country when it comes to esports. And actually, to be fair, it didn't even used to be that way. It used to be, when it came to Scandinavia, Sweden dominated. Sweden dominated for so long, but Finland has really picked up PUBG extremely powerfully, I suppose.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things, like, for a long time, the sort of Sampti, Jempti duo, the twins, right, were sort of the initial flagship that we saw come out of Finland, and everybody said, wow, these guys are really good. And then all of a sudden we realized, holy cow, there's an entire core of PUBG players that are crazy. I mean, a lot of analysts thought CIS was going to be here dominating in the World Championships because, you know, teams... Well, teams, I know, yeah. But teams like Jokers have been really impressive in, like, say, the preseason for PEL.
Yeah.
But Finland, for some reason, they've got this ability to sit down, look at what's going on, and adapt very effectively. Both teams have told me a lot of it is they think it's the fact that they can use their native language. I said, how important is it to you to have a full Fin stack when you play? And they said they think it's a really big deal because they can communicate quickly, they understand each other, and they sort of understand the way that they think from a cultural standpoint.
You see a lot of that, actually, in esports. In general, when it comes to Europe especially, being able to use your native tongue, Avenger, is very important when it comes to actually playing in a team as a whole.
Just see, when you guys hear me talk, in Danish, you say it's a potato and everything. I'm just pointing to we have another team also in another sport, and they're doing pretty good. And they're also talking native, right? So
yes.
I definitely think being able to speak in a native language and in your native tongue is really important. And I think we're going to see changes to, because of that.
And
I was like, that's why I was surprised that Uber actually got pulled out of CIS and not make it like a power lineup with the best of the best in the CIS. But I mean, yeah, I'm happy to see the Winstrike guys being able to do this good, and I definitely think the communication is going to give you 10 seconds extra.
Well, gentlemen, it is time. Game number 3, our final map of Miramar for the day. OMG not doing the best so far. Let's see if our current world champions can make up some room here. Let's head over to Sims and Pansy.
Yeah, it's a bit of an uphill struggle for some of these teams. This is the final game on Miramar. Obviously, Erangel will be coming up afterwards, but it's also the final game from us two for today. So this is going to be, hopefully, somewhat similar to the last game. I loved that last game. That was really exciting for me. It seems that everyone at home enjoyed it too. How about yourself?
Yeah, fantastic. And it's good to see teams, a few different leaders, to be honest with you. And some powerhouses not doing too well. I mean, everyone loves to see an upset. Obviously, the teams and the fans won't. But when you're seeing teams that you don't expect to do so well, stepping it up and kind of putting a spanner in the works, anything's possible. I mean, for some of these teams, actually, we were speaking about the last time, this will be the last Miramar game that they play here at the FACEIT Summit when we talk about groups, because when all this is done, Group B, they have to go and sit and wait in the wins and see what happens with A and C tomorrow, because it will be other teams deciding their fate.
चलो guys, मैच चालू हो रहा है, देखना सब लोग मस्त.
Again, my eyes turn towards Tempo Storm and OMG. They're two teams that should be outperforming where they're currently at. I heard the analysis, or one of the analysis desks, saying that he's expecting NIP to kind of springboard forward now. Maybe that little bit of a confidence boost could encourage them to go off. I don't know where to look here. I think we're seeing a lot of teams making these minor adjustments. Hopefully we get that little insight from Scream and D-Man again about rotations or any small changes, because they are keeping their eyes, you know, trained on the map here. And again, let's see where that circle eventually comes in as well. That will be a huge factor here.
So playing slightly more weighted towards the north. We start off in the northwest and head toward the south. Ends over Impala. So generally speaking, anyone that likes to loot in the south will be having a difficult time and need to reposition. An interesting will be from the Bluebees. One thing I want to note on, which you can see in the left-hand side, OMG, currently sitting at the very dead bottom of the table in Group B here. Now, these individuals have been immortalized on this map since PGI a long time ago. They've literally been immortalized in
I've
this
just
map.
seen the circle.
Oh.
Oof. Woof.
Okay, well, yeah. All right, that's an interesting one. There's
a whole lot of water.
There's a potential, Lauren.
I am praying.
There is a potential. James is laughing and giggling his little
Castaway,
ginger
I want
head
them
off.
on the island. It would be so good.
Oh dear.
Anyone want to, maybe put, I don't know, bets down on if it goes to the islands? Are we hoping for it?
What are we saying? Y'all want an island over there? One, two. Steve's
Nice little
concentrating on
island
his
holiday.
stats. He's,
Yeah, exactly.
His head down, Martin's waving and all sorts of stuff. If there was a caster cam at the back, you'd be able to see what the analysis are doing right now. They're not quite pulling their hair out, but having a laugh of it. Tempo Storm, though, they're having a laugh.
Well, look, okay, if there's ever going to be a game for Tempo Storm, it better be right now. Like, it better be. They have it all. They have that entire, like, East Coast, and they know it as well. They know that there's no one else going to be around them particularly quickly. They know that maybe Ents are nearby and potentially Envy, but beyond that, they know they're safe. So, again, for them, pick where you want to go.
The hardest thing about this circle, all right, there is a potential for the island circle, but more importantly is that you lose about 55% of entry points into it. You know, you've got all the water there in the north. You've got a bit of a cut off and a drop off, which denies any kind of entry points. Once you're into it, you're looking towards a boat. There could be some weird and wonderful things. We actually saw it from Raise Your Edge, and PL decided to get a boat early, just go sit in the water, expecting it.
Stop reminding me of early PUBG. Stop it.
No, that was in PEL.
Exactly. So stop reminding me of early PUBG. I don't want to hear about people sitting in boats and hiding.
I mean, it worked.
Shush.
Well, until one of them killed themselves, but that's a different story. So yeah, this provides a very difficult entry point. You've got that northern coastal road that comes straight down.
Oh, that was some bad driving. That's some bad driving. That's going to be awkward. Especially with an 8 times on a mini, that's very awkward. A couple more. Oh Christ. This is some very poor driving. This is some very poor driving. And we said we're looking at Hulk as a player. VSG just racking up a nice little knock there. And Hulk was a fragger. The man's got some power, but that driving was appalling.
It was questionable. Take that man's license immediately. Because that's basically just buried in. Where are they actually? Okay, so they're just below Oasis. 4
yeah,
AM
up in the
will
north.
scoot by. The question, do they? Nah, they won't get aggressive on this. There's no way, right?
Maybe. Where else are they going to go?
Oh my God.
Oh God, VSG.
Oh,
this is dangerous. Okay.
No fear.
Maybe they
Hold
should have some
W.
fear. I don't know if I like this. VSG are getting hyper aggressive on this one, and the spores arrive for AG. They are not alone here anymore, and they're going to be walking in towards teams in cover. Honboy are going to instantly deny the first man step forward. Damage lives up to that name, puts down a whole lot of it, and this is absolutely falling apart.
Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. They decided to push a team of 4 as James puts his head in his hands.
James liked this team.
Why would you do that? That you can hear the vehicles rolling up on the hillside. They didn't even get behind them. It's an uphill struggle. You were ready to receive that fight. No.
But maybe they're tilted from that last game. You lose out in that situation where you could have been more aggressive. Keep in mind that was, I don't know.
If you're going to do that, at least do it after you've knocked him straight away and commit to it.
Yeah,
You've got to
I
play
agree.
it down. Like letting him get back on his feet.
I'm not supporting it, Richard. I'm just saying it's kind of likely they're a bit tilted from the last game where they weren't assertive. They didn't take the initiative, and NIP did nasty things to them. So now they're just making rash decisions that clearly have backfired, or it's just because James likes them.
I mean, there is that.
Probably one of the two.
It's the ginger curse.
It is known.
It is known.
Push the high ground. Doesn't go well. Right, what do we have going on? Who is on rotation early on? Actually, quite a lot of teams. Well, it's not surprising. I mean, especially with this circle. There's not much to be taken. That's the scary part, isn't it?
It's when people start to think like one another, where it becomes scary. Everyone's like, okay, well, we can take a southern road
I've seen something scary. Player unknown just put in chat, Island Circle. I feel, if there's ever going to be a time to make something happen.
The Brendan curse.
Exactly. It's
so
all fun and games when we say it.
It's when we're playing on the esports server and a red zone appears. It's like, ha ha ha, laughs in player unknown. I have arrived.
Look, it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. Look, if the next circle just slowly moves east, I'm going to...
Just yoinks all the way onto the island.
Already.
Yeet.
couple of shots. We'll see rotation shots here. Someone might get caught out if they actually aren't careful on their routes. That's the one thing, because again, a lot of people will be going for the prime cuts of real estate so far, which there won't be much left of in maybe the next 30 seconds. A lot of teams putting their scouts into place. So you've got to be scared for the teams looking for that. A lot of teams banking that it's not going to go as far east as we were expecting, or hoping, or praying, or wanting.
I mean,
but,
for some people, they might enjoy it.
Who's sadistic enough?
Anyone who, I mean, we've seen it before where there is two options to this one. We'll just discuss it while people are still rotating around. The two options would be you get a boat and you go get on the island and you wait for everyone else to arrive. We've seen that for teams not pay off. Or you basically sit on the beachhead and just murder everybody on arrival. There is two ways to play it. Tempo Storm are banking on it not happening because they've gone further afield into the center of the circle. If it does, this is where it kind of becomes a bit preemptive. By the time we get to Circle 4, if there's still water in play, you can predict where the circle's going to be near enough, because you know where it's going to shift and there'll be only a small amount of land to actually fit itself into. So if there's still water in play and we are on the main head of the island by Circle 4, that's where it gets really spicy, because everyone knows where the circle's going, so they'll all center up, get ready for it, and then it becomes a real massacre. Everyone just piles in, gets center, squares up and says, right, let's have it, boys. It's going to be a fun job. 4AM are in the circle. AG still not in there. They're in the north. VSG, the remnants who was left behind, they'll unfortunately might get the blunt end at the back of Los Leones. They will have to heal up because they've been playing off the blue. Unfortunately, Brazilian Crusaders are right behind them, so that could be a very early bath for them.
Yeah.
OMG going down south. You got Windstrike lingering around there. And at the moment, it's a bit of a chill game. Everyone's just setting up for what happens next, because the next circle could really just throw everything in the wind.
Yeah, exactly. I think so far you're still fine. It's bated breath time, right? Everyone's just waiting to see if it happens.
I don't know. I don't know how this goes. Everyone's banking on it kind of happening, but who knows? Who knows?
Indeed. I'm curious. And in this sort of game, I'm still looking at OMG and Tempo Storm. You can't keep your eyes off Tempo Storm because they need to start delivering more than what they were. That's still something as an underlying factor. They're so central on the circle, it's unbearable. They're in the perfect position. They have a couple of teams nearby. They've got a little 2-2 split. Richard, it's close. It's close. There's still Richard. It's still close, but surely.
I enjoy memes. They are the best thing about 2019.
Thank you, Brendan.
Lull. Oh.
Okay, so I think as we love to see these circles, I think we need to go down to Scoom and D-Man. Hopefully you guys are ready, because I know you love to see this. Guys, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy right now. And we're looking at 4AM. 4AM were literally on the northern coast by the boats. They were ready for this. Airwolf 7 are doing the exact same, but this is shrink. It's still a 50-50. You think it won't pull away?
I don't think it will go. Normally when it's an island shrink, it goes far more east, and it's a little bit more east on the first circle anyway, so I believe it's not going to shrink, but we do see Airwolf holding down.
Yeah, back to you guys, I think, because 17 and AFF are going at it.
Awesome, thank you so much, and indeed, Scoom is a doubter, but we do not doubt it for a second. AFF are up for the fight, and 17 Gaming just got ripped to shreds. Where's that remaining member? There's a man knocked, but where's... Oh, why he's just gone down to a completely different team. That's 17 Gaming gone.
Yeah, somewhere in the back, Ibiza's shouting, pull up, boys, and they do. They get out the cars, they slam them into 16th place. That's not good. Ugh, 16th, you never want to see it. Looks like 4AM are preempting the island circle. They're getting ready. They got the boats and they're heading out. Aero Wolf have just picked up the AWM, but NIP are actually knocking on the door. They'll see them lingering on the coastline here. I would say that there is more water in play there. If you're looking at the 50-50 swing of what's actually is, there is definitely a possibility here. The bigger possibility in the bigger story, let's talk about this one. If it doesn't go to the island, Lauren, because of the shape of the map and how it is, you will be able to predict the circle by circle 4. And at the moment, Impala and surrounding areas, That's open territory. That's where it's going to be looking at heading towards. NIP have read it. They've taken the northern edge. AG are slowly but surely working their way in.
There's a lot of room they've got in the north there.
Down south is no room at all. That's completely opposite end of the spectrum.
And you've got 4 teams coming in from the south.
Exactly. This is where people could start to set up a patrol. Windstrike could play border control and essentially just block 3 teams. We've got OMG, we've got Bluebees, we've got the Brazilian Crusaders. Oh, it's going to get messy all over this one.
Tempo Storm have just lost out on players. Zampa and Sharky are trying to stem the bleed, but they're down to 3 already. This is, again, scary times for them. They aren't away from the threat just yet either. There is still plenty available as Sharky is doing what we expect Sharky to do, which is getting frags on the board, but the threats are still close by. Maybe trying to clear out as they go, find out if there's anyone else near enough to cause problems. It seems as though they're safe for now. Wait, we've just seen OMG. Is that a boat problem?
No, I don't. Where are they? Where are they?
Yeah, I actually know where OMG are. Oh, they're down in the south, excuse me.
Yeah.
That was just a car. That was just a...
Unfortunately, Xiao Hai's down. Windstrike, you can see this coastal road could be the death of many players if they set up, because there is a bottleneck here. You've got MP5 one side, Windstrike on the other. Now, death from the blue. Windstrike still, the last player lingering around. You can see the boats already. Nook is like, we got a water Uber over there just waiting. Get ahead of the game, does see him, and it doesn't happen. But now, because of the water, you know where the circle's going to be shifted. It goes towards the land in the next one, and this is where people will square up. This is a fight for prime territory, and at the moment, that construction yard, well, it's smack bang in the center. This is going to be an absolute cluster of a game.
All right, who's got the best territory right now? NIP in a good spot, AG in a good spot, AFF, ENF, so many in the kill feed just here right now. VARD's just been confirmed by AG as well. NIP losing out on some of the players. There is going to be fights everywhere, so I'm sure we'll be jumping around at this point. You're going to have to keep your eyes on your favorite teams as we can try and keep you up to date. But 4 AM in the boats, they went for the island. It didn't pan out. They're on the move. The north side still has room, but not central. The Brazilians, middle of the road, about to be made into roadkill if Windstrike catch a glimpse of this. But actually, Jorski goes down. Nookie responds to Raspu. This is Windstrike trying to apply pressure from afar.
Angle. He's literally beached the boat and built himself a mini fort that he can get an angle off of them. Windstrike, gotta be careful. Look at that grenade. It's cooked, it's ready, it's lowballed, it goes over the edge. It's a bit too far. But now they've got the warning shot of where it came from, so they should have some sort of information that there is players directly above them. Stims come out, smokes go up. They're utilizing all their utility here, but is it a waste? Because they are nowhere near the circle. They have got quite a lot of a way to go up that main road, and there are still teams going to be ahead of them, so it's all right doing this straight from across. Just on the trenches, but 1 FPS. I think he's going to bail from this one and try and stay alive.
Timmy going to find one of the Brazilians, as it does seem as though they are on the run. Just going to try and get out of there, get towards the circle. It was a scrappy fight from what they had. The positioning, again, keeps getting more and more condensed and busy. Impala has currently 3 teams dedicated towards it. I guess you could argue one of them's a little further out on the side, but Envy and Tempo Storm, we're going to see a big clash here potentially. If they keep hearing these shots and pushing around that hill, I don't know if they'll do it, but there's certainly a potential for it.
Yeah, for most of these teams at the moment, it's not about getting
there he
offensive
goes.
and
That's the
aggressive.
Brazilian Crusaders gone.
Okay, well, first from the start of this map and out in 15th towards the end of it, not good at all. But for most of these teams, AFF, NIP, ENS and ENF, ENSUS, it's going to be pretty much defending your ground here. Through Impala up to that construction scrapyard area, they are prime territory. They've got lots of cover. They have lots of maneuverability to be able to move back and forth and exit should they have to. But you have to stand your ground. NIP lost a player during that while going into it, but they committed to it and just dove on in.
Anyone going to go for it? Anyone feeling brave?
That's the second arm in the water. Is this Brendan just throwing out bread and hoping someone takes it as bait?
He didn't give us the island, so, you know.
That's the water arm.
Anyway, we are obviously just memeing out. We are waiting to see if anyone would dare crash anything right now, where that forceful circle is going to push. And my word, VSG have a lot of room to work with, but not a lot of players. Now, who's in good position? NIP, again, retain very nice positioning here.
And again, because it is Circle 4, you'd expect the hard shift. He always will fly away from the water because of the multiplier that is in the settings. Where it could have gone is a different one. there's generally an unwritten rule that people say about cities. You don't get really any city centrals endings, so we'll always pull away from them, generally speaking. We don't know that for a fact, but when you watch and do
Just
the
a
math,
feel, isn't
you
it?
never
You get
see
the-
them. You just don't see them. You see them shifting away from it. Unattainable hills, water, towns, cities, things like that. So I think we might have an open one here. It's rough terrain, Lauren. There's also the inaccessible rock in the middle, so that won't be in.
Yeah, and look at Envy and Tempo Storm. They're going to be pushed right next to each other. Ooh, you're going to hear those steps. Lambu's heard those going past. Indigo, 24 to hand, looking for anyone to peek around. He's going to spot one. That's one of the AFF players. And Lambu's heard this. Yak's going to be checking on it, but doesn't check that far. Lambu's got an angle. Going to spot out one call. Going to be made. You can always see that communication happening in the background. AG are firing towards VSG, and pushing into the building is a mistake. Oh, one. Oh, a second for Lambu. Able to confirm to one. Can he stay alive? Is he okay enough to heal up? Is there anyone instantly going to apply pressure? No. He's got to heal off.
That's disgusting. Just hold his point, but there's no response whatsoever as they keep on coming, and they're just getting melted.
Look at that support from the back lines. Lambu was isolated, but the crossfire, the positioning was in place from his teammates. Style was there. You saw that mini on that kill feed instantly holding his safety. If he got pushed sooner, he was dead.
Blue Bees about to get lit up on arrival, unfortunately for them. They've landed directly against OMG, playing border control here. They can force them back. We have a look at Windstrike's POV, who've spotted Tempo Storm. Sharky, he might be named after a fish, but we're not playing near water at the moment. He falls back, will get his health kicked up. We need to take a quick check-in with OMG because Blue Bees are pushing directly upon them, and there may be an opportunity for a third party from ENCE, who are just littered up straight up north, all the way from Impala.
Yeah. A couple of shots though going back and forth. Tempo Storm is still trying to say, like, they need these points in the relation of where they stand currently on the kill feed.
Circle as well.
Exactly, this is their perfect game. Temmie is having none of it. He's spread out so much. Oh, it's the killing fields right now. Sharky goes down. Your boy Dre goes down. Another complete travesty for Tempo Storm, down to one man now. How is he going to keep these guys away? Nuki's probably getting revived right now by Tixu. Exactly what's happened. Temmie just had to play the line, and he went beyond what he had to do. Zampa apply some pain, but the response is there. And how are they going down in 14th place? Tempo Storm have fumbled it again.
It's not good. It's actually unacceptable from North America's #1 team coming in after what you've done throughout the NPL. They need to go back to the drawing board and reassess this one. We will be moving after this towards Erangel, so we'll see if they can perform better. We know they love the West Coast. They've been there since day one of PUBG. Should be better territory, but that's for this afternoon right now. It's all about the circle. It's wide and wonderful. One thing I will be disappointed, Lauren, feel free to jump in because it's going to get wild.
Yeah.
And IGL should be recognizing there is inaccessible land within this circle. The circle should be moving away from that big rock in the middle because you literally can't get up there. So this should, maybe, there's potential it shifts and goes towards AG.
Maybe. I mean, see, this is the thing. I don't know how calm some of these guys are under pressure. Sometimes these decisions they're going to be making are literally, within seconds of each other. Who's in the good spots right now, Rich? Who stands out to you who's got, having good positioning as it stands?
I mean, you can play off the back of the rock and you can cover your backside by having no one shooting you, but for me, it moves away from this one. This circle has to go to the north. I'm happy to be proved wrong, but because it's unaccessible terrain, you can't get on top of that cliff. It should go north. So in theory, you have to say, AG, they've got a 4-man stack. They're chilling in the north. If they overextend their reach, they could really control pretty much all of the northern circle.
Speaking of control, AFF in the southern side of the circle, essentially with ENCE, going to be gatekeeping the entirety of the teams leaving Impala. You have ENCE now trying to make a run for it. You have MB5 trying to make a move for it. Envy moving for it. Windstrike, ENF, all outside of the circle and have to get past AFF. They are the only ones in right now of all the teams we just discussed, and they have this dirty little ridgeline to play off. MB5 gonna spread it out, but it's not easy to work your way in, and yeah, you know what you're in for, Fong. Playing that smart, gonna try and not give away too much, maybe try and allow someone else to go in first, and then you work off the back of that information. Gonna get the tag suppressed.
Windstrike, Envy, and MP5 all have to go across the road. Windstrike's been caught out for now. Fong puts a few bullets down, but that'll alerted everyone else to his presence there. AFF are literally on the opposing side of the road here, sat in buildings, waiting with open arms. This is, if they see every player crossing the road, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kills, easy. Nade. Randy nade from nowhere. Who was that? Timmy?
Yep.
That's a distance as well.
Yeah, Gaxi finding Temmie. This is the trades coming back in. NIP starting to wind up here as well. It looks like Aerowolf got a little into the fight and then got wiped out of it. They were up towards the northeast side of things. We're still keeping eyes towards the south. OMG could fold onto ENCE. ENCE could then struggle against VSG potentially and AFF. And you can see these shots here. ENCE so far are drilled in vision, locked towards Envy. Moody on the receiving end of Mikas. That's going to be really stinging, but there's so many other players here. That was stolen.
Yeah,
Ryan KK.
literally. You have to make sure that you confirm these kills. As soon as you put a body on the floor, it's an open point for anybody that's just lingering in the distance. So AMG, they say, well, thank you very much. You've put him down. We'll stick him in the grave. Nails it shut on Moody's corpse, unfortunately. Mikas still far up here for ENCE. Starlord in the middle, you can see with the M24. Looking to do some damage from that cliff face if he does spot anyone in the open. But ENCE are also in the same position of AFF, where they can just play their game and let everyone arrive to them. Just a note on ENCE as well, they've gone for a 2-2 split. It's questionable to do it late game, but they've put themselves for the circle, ready to receive it.
Oh, Venerated, this is horrible. And OG and ENCE's force, he's not taking the shot. He doesn't know he's the only one last alive here for Envy. He could have maybe jumped a spot potentially. That's a mistake from Kale. He didn't know any better. He didn't have the information we do. Venerated does not want to move. He wants to stay very, very still and hope that AFF look elsewhere. Some of the ENCE players starting to look central. We see Starlord again with a nice gun to hand. This time finds Miraku. That's going to be a nice bit of revenge for him.
And more importantly, that will slow down NIP. And by doing that, the third party comes in. AG have got a line of sight from the north. They've been standing their ground for quite some time. Mikas forced to take the engagement on OMG as they are encroaching on their position. Again, it will be a 4 versus 2 essentially. Starlord again, squeaky this time. Takes the full force of the M24.
That's the central players basically removed, I'm pretty sure. The ENCE had a couple pushed up. I think there might be one more over there.
What cover do they have? I mean, they've got the... That's a different team, actually, excuse me. Which might be an interesting one as AG have to make something happen.
Starlord is going off this time. It looks like he is really starting to want to come into this. He is landing shot after shot at the moment, and he wants to confirm these kills. That's the issue, I guess, with the 24 and all the other guns. You can get the knocks, but getting the kills is the harder factor.
Do the engagement here. Duckman's gone for an off angle, and everybody else can hold NIP dead to rights with the gun. As I say that, ENCE turn around and say thank you very much. Try and take the off angle. We'll take you out of the game. That ain't no problem whatsoever. Mikas and Trefele, they know. They have the remnants of OMG just lingering over the corner. And what a player to be facing off against Lion KK. I mean, the man is
I'm
a
worried
bit of
about
a
NIP
magician.
here, Rich, because they've kind of, it feels like they've rested on their laurels a bit.
They were slowed down by Starlord all the way across. That one M24 bullet basically just put them in a position where, okay, well, we have to res now. We're on the move. The Blues on the back. There's nowhere, really, in my opinion, for NIP to go. They would have to take a fight against AG, delete them from the server, and then take their position.
This is so nice. Let's see if he works out. 8 times on, he knows the perfect shot from Starlord. This guy is a beast. We doubted him. We looked at what happened before, and you can't blame us, but now he's showing off what he can do with those scope guns. Gaxi still finding the good fight, trying to force his way forward, but he gets caught out. That's Starlord again towards MBS. This guy's racking up points. He only has 1 confirmed kill, but I'm sure his damage is going to be huge.
That's some sweet, sweet revenge. From the previous game, he didn't do anything to NIP. This time, no holds barred. Pins them back, dead to rights. Job done. They're out of the game. AG now will be forced the engagement, looking for the smoke player, but I don't think he's actually there. AFF, it's time to shine and show what you can do. You've been sat in this game for so long, kind of biding your time.
Yep.
Will the circle go your way? No, it doesn't. They have to move forward, and they've got ENCE and OMG to the left-hand side. VSG, remember, all the way at the start, they lost two players straight off the back, and they've made it all the way to the late game. They've got the guns. They're going to have utility. They've not wasted any grenades or smoke, so that you should have thought they have them.
What is the play here? For me, ENCE are in a perfect spot. I love this 2-2 split. They might lose out on one half of the 2-2 split, but they're going to make it difficult for one of the teams, right? Rust and Mar, I think it's Squeaky, in the small central area. They're just going to hold off as long as they can. Hopefully, hoping the Starlord and his teammate just keep applying this pressure and being a nuisance. AFF are going to fight against the remainder of OMG and ENCE down towards the south. That was some real control. Style finds Trifoli. Nade's going to be following up on this too, and Mikas isn't far, but he's not in the same position.
All right, death squad, here we go. Time to mop up. 10 kills in the bag. I stand corrected. I said they haven't done too much, but 10 kills is 10 points. Job done. Still
Mikas.
2 more. He will now fall to the boot as well. Shadow, does he know that OMG, the last player, is lingering? If they can deal with the snake in the grass, then they'll control the entire side of the circle.
Lion KK going to do what he can on the way out here, but he does eventually go down to the blue, and Lambu in combination, the damage too much, as AFF still potentially can have 4 players alive with 12 kills. We have 4 teams left, Richard. We are down to the final couple of players.
There'll be no angle from VSG because they're on the opposing side of that mountain rock area, whatever you call it, canyon. So
what other gun does Star-Lord have? Do we know?
I didn't cop for it, no.
Is it 7 or 5?
I'm interested to see what gear he's got. Like, you know, these guys have been playing late game. They've only got 1 kill, but compared to what happened at the start of the game from them, they were just smashed into oblivion. And now all of a sudden you're rocking an M24 and 8 times. I mean, GG, buddy. 3 nades in the bag, so no smokes, no utility.
Okay, so we have AFF and AG. That is from like north to south here. AFF have so much going for them. They are in such a good position. Star-Lord trying to readjust, get an angle deeper in towards the little hut. Doesn't quite get the glimpse he wants towards ends, but AFF is still the threat here in my eyes, that they have so much to work with. Utility is a big factor here, though. I don't see any smokes on Star-Lord. He's spawning so much out as well, though. And there's the shrink. It's oh, he's hitting the shots on the little feet.
No
and Shadow finds it as well with the SKS. So with the new circle coming in, it is Ents who holds it, though.
Just instas in with a 24. Picks up another
He can
point.
land this.
Did he see him?
It needs to be a little higher on the shot, I think, for the drop to work out.
Lucky.
There it is. That's a tag. One more is going to get the knock. There it is. Star-Lord is starting to come into his own. That is 3 kills now. And of course, damage does not equate to getting points. But it starts getting scary when you see that name on the kill feed time and time again. But what do people have here? AFF have an open field. VSG have an open field. Ents have a hut. There is not much to play from, but AFF have players standing in already. Ents are going to be choosing their fight. Star goes down. The replies are coming back in. Rustaman, you better bang these shots perfectly. Confirms on Style. That's huge, but they don't want all the attention. They're hoping that the other teams also get a fight going.
So they can get angles on both of them here.
They're losing on the deep angle. They're losing on Shadow's angle.
Really exposed here. VSG have got a really open ground to run, so this could be a bit of a picking field.
This is
nice.
nice.
The 2 top fraggers.
So Rustamon just put down a smoke, basically, I think, to keep that side safe. He's going to be... The problem is that they're going to eventually allow too many of these deep angles to come through, especially from AFF, but they don't have time on this, really, AFF. They need to start going fast, and Star-Lord... Oh, patience, patience. He's trying to wait it out, but maybe waited too long. He's down to a 1-shot. Rustamon is not going to give that up.
I respect the challenge. There was nothing else he could really do. Hope that Ents stick the head out and maybe get a pick, which allowed them to advance up, but Ents are having none of it. I like that you mentioned the pre-smokes as well, Lauren. They built themselves some sort of safety net.
And they still have more. If they take their time and play it smart and play it calm like they're doing, they have a good chance. 2 smokes still left, grenades still left. Their utility management has been perfect. Now, confirming onto NN, we are down to 2 remainders for AFF. We have what? Shadow and Lambu against Rustamar and Squeaky.
Shadow's been doing some serious work though with his SKS. I mean, 8 times on the back of it. So it comes down.
Trading.
It's just a Rangers game, right? It all comes down to who's the bigger marksman.
Shadow's just out in the open.
Brazen.
And he's gone down. This is a 2v4 and it works out for Ents. Right at the end, the nade came through. They held their utility so well. That is patient play from the Finns. That's the stoic nature you expect to finally see.
We just see a wild Kobe just trickle its way to the feet of an AFF player and completely decimates him for the win. GG. Everyone's had their eyes on the Finns, wondering, okay, Europe's #1 team coming into this. Where have they been so far? Because it hasn't been the best 2 days. I mean, honestly, you'd have to think, do they actually want to play in this relegation? Is that just a really good scrim for them going towards the grand finals? But I tell you what, that's a certified win. 11 points as well, a 21-point game. That will send them flying up the leaderboard.
They played that so well. The control they had of being so aware of that final circle, knowing their weak points and their strengths, how to play that out. And it was a kind of a 2v4 towards AFF, and then they had VSG with 2 players. Obviously, they had help. It wasn't just one of them going off. Rustamar did get 7 kills, but the way they kept in mind, eventually, obviously, if you're playing out from 1 point, that hut, there is a deep angle in the circle that you cannot control anymore. You lose your cover. And they used those smokes so well. They didn't use them too early, but they used them at the right time. And they isolated. I think it was Shadow going on that deeper play. I loved it. I really did. I'm so happy to see them there and playing well off the back of it. OMG finally making it slightly later game, but again, not the OMG that I expected coming into this.
I'll tell you what, AFF so far have been consistent.
They have.
That's another second placement today alone. They had a pretty, if I'm not mistaken, a pretty good game yesterday. They came into the competition today in 3rd position overall. All right, this is their second group phase. Well, you know, we have to remind people of that. They'll definitely have an advantage on other ones. But I think maybe now, because you had STK and 17 Gaming in front of them, that might have taken them top of the table. They're playing a really, no wins in the bag, but 3rd place is for, I'm not entirely sure what their lowest placement is so far, but
I'm not sure.
They are a consistent team.
They're starting to look scary. They're a name I didn't look at, and suddenly I'm going to have to keep looking. And these guys are racking up points. The team who racked up the most points and finally showed that you can play a bit of PUBG, thank you for doing it, is ENCE, sitting towards the top. I'm so glad to see them there. Finally, they put up a big performance, put up big numbers. I think it's enough from us. We are done for the day. We're going to go chill out, enjoy Erangel coming up next. But before that, you get to hear from the delightful one and only. You thought I was going to say Freya. It's actually Squeaky. We're really excited to see him. Go down to the stage.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Yes, I'm down here with the winning side ENCE. That was such an intense final fight. Can you talk me through what happened there?
Yeah, like we basically know that there was different teams that are fighting at the hill, so we just need to figure out who's going to die first, so then we can just concentrate the other team. So we just needed to chill a bit in the shack, so then we know that we saw the other team died, so then we can play more aggressively on the north side of the shack and take just duels with the enemy.
So yesterday you had a somewhat disappointing set of results. What changed coming into today?
I don't know, it was, yesterday I was like, we were doing some stupid stuff, but yeah, now we're doing better now.
Do you think it's just a case of getting warmed up, getting ready, and also you're facing a somewhat difficult pretty calm, calm and composed team?
In that scenario, yeah, we were pretty calm, but because we didn't have to do fights and stuff, so we just we made our way inside the zone, so we just need to chill. But in the different kind of fights, we are kind of loud.
I mean, so we're going to be going into Erangel next for the next 3 games. Are you guys looking confident for that?
Yeah, definitely. The wins helps a lot. You get your confidence boost. Now we're going to have a little lunch break, so we can just get some thoughts on how we're going to play in Erangel. So it's good.
Is there anything you've been particularly preparing for that when you're focusing on?
Excuse me?
Is there anything you've been preparing going into the next 3 maps?
Yeah, we have some new strats.
Can you give me any secrets? Anything you can reveal?
Just stay honest.
Okay, well, we're going to see exactly what goes down in our next 3 maps. We're going to be going for a quick break, but before that, let's head to James at the desk.
As we said past couple of days, hashtag trivial for ENCE. Not too bad there to be able to get themselves that chicken dinner. Plenty of kills to boot as well. 11 coming in for them. Joining me, Toffees as well as Avenger. Toffees, good stuff by ENCE to get the recovery.
Great stuff by ENCE. All right, so yesterday we were very hard on them, myself in particular. I think that they handled it, however they handled it well. They came out to Miramar very, very well. They've raised their points per game from 2 yesterday on Miramar to 11.3 at this point. That's a massive improvement. And the bad news for everyone else is yesterday actually had a decent, I said 6 points per game is where I think that target's going to be. They were almost there on Erangel yesterday. They were doing about 5.3. So if we see the same improvement from them in the second half of the game today that we saw in the first half, that's implying maybe a 15-point per game situation for them, and they'd be right up next to SDK as 2 dominating teams in this tournament so far.
So I gave them a challenge yesterday. We talked a bit about it, and they said, I told them, you have to be above shoot to kill. Now that they're not playing, it should be possible, they said. So they're on a pretty good run so far. I'm happy to see them kind of step up. And also Squeaky not acknowledging that they had a bad day yesterday, and they are changing some stuff. You said they did some stupid stuff. And if you acknowledge that, then you're on a really far way. You said yesterday, definition of insanity is...
They're doing the same thing over and over.
Yes, and expecting different results. And now they're changing their stats. We saw that their changes to how they're doing different rotations, and how they're kind of approaching differently. And it's really surprising to me, because they actually have a lot more pressure in their area. Enter's Force is close to them, Tempo Storm is close to them, so them being able to pull this off is obviously great.
I mean, I think that's part of the problem right now is Tempo Storm is close to them, and that's causing some issues for Tempo Storm perhaps because they're having a very tough day. They're the opposite side of the coin. They are actually in a worse spot now than ENCE was in yesterday at this stage of the game. So they need to pick it up. But I do want to give another big shout out to Winstrike. Remember we said that average 6 points is what I'm looking for. They're averaging higher than that right now, and they're not. We're not talking about them because they went out in 10th place in that last game, but they got 6 kills. They went out in 6 before that, but they got 5 kills. So Winstrike's a little bit quieter about the whole thing, but is still playing an incredibly high level of PUBG.
Yeah, I felt like that was their entire road through PEL, actually. Just quiet about it and casually, nonchalantly, then ended up getting in the top 4. Very good stuff by them. Let's take a look at some of the highlights here from game number 3 of day 2, of course, as that was our final map of Miramar. And another team that we really have to highlight here at the desk was Africa Freaks Fatal. 13 kills to boot coming into that last game, get second place.
And so far today, 36 points. That's 12. Not as good as Shit to Kill had overall yesterday, but still very impressive considering how much pressure they've had today and how different the circles we've had. I mean, we were very close to having I think all of us, maybe everyone was kind of crossing their fingers to get one of these fantastic island circles because they're so interesting to watch. And there's a lot of teams that kind of prepared for that as well. We saw 4 AM already out there when there was still only like a 50-50 chance of us seeing it, but I don't really think Africa, they did fantastic.
No, I think
they played well. They came in, they sweeped in on the southern side and got so many kills from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think making that move early was a big bit of a mistake there for 4 AM. But I get it. I think people are a little gun shy. And you got to say, we wanted the islands because every circle the analyst wants is often the least favorite circle of the players themselves. They hate making do, but we love watching them struggle.
Very much so. And ENCE was able to round things out. At the eye on the prize, this highlight's brought to you by NVIDIA. Great stuff overall in the end for our final game of Miramar, of course. A team that I'd love to highlight, but I'm going to allow you guys to do it, and I'll just bring it up as a subject. VSG started awfully that game, but actually managed to recover some of the situation in that game.
They managed to recover beautifully, and if they had more guys alive towards the end, and they didn't there were 2 guys, right? And they, in the end, and they didn't go into salvage mode. We saw so many shots still coming out, a lot of damage output as well, putting so much pressure onto NIP specifically. And we talked about this before as well. I was surprised that NIP didn't move out early, but it's because of the pressure coming out from Starlord with the M24.
I would kill to see what his overall damage was in that match, because I think Freya put him on the spot and said, well, why don't you take that shot? And I think every time he pulled the trigger in the last one, he was like, I took that shot, I took that shot.
There you go, Freya.
He was putting in work. I mean, and he didn't get a ton of kills necessarily, but he opened the doors for a lot of teams down there to sort of finish things, push forward. And it was, you'd actually see it. You would see Starlord hit somebody, and everyone would like deal with that, and then the team on the opposite side would advance a little bit. So everybody was kind of using him to their advantage.
A little bit of retribution, I guess. He got 3 kills in the end after being in that awful position, and he actually really hindered the progress of Armory Gaming, who were the ones that actually killed them off twice, 2 people at the beginning of the game. But anyway, let's take a look at the X factor of the match, of course, brought to you here by HyperX and their beautiful RAM, of course, as well, as we take a look what we have. What's in store? It's a spray from Hulk, from VSG, my boys, yes! I'm always happy to see VSG.
I guess it's got to be why they went ahead and picked it. They knew how much you love watching Death and Destruction. But that comes down to, I don't really know what they were doing there. They jumped in the car, they tried to pull it forward, and they tried to drive it backwards. The whole time bullets are flying. And when you've got that incredible RAM, it's easy to get those headshots inside of the truck. And they saw every step of the way as he said, he was switching seats, I think. He was trying to make it move and still survive, and it just wasn't working.
It's so rough to drive uphill anyway. Like, it goes so slow, and especially with an 8X Mini, you're gonna smash them out of the car in some time.
Especially on Miramar, it can be tough. Be tough. So, from our 3 games of Miramar, what have you extrapolated? What information have you gained so far here when it comes to how, especially Group C, how they've been able to play out on Miramar? Any thoughts?
So we had some really interesting circles. First of all, we have far western one, then we go to the middle, and then we go to the east. So it's kind of all over the place, which doesn't kind of benefit any teams. But I want to say this: I expected Tempo Storm to be doing a bit better on Eastern Circle because they usually dominate those. We've seen insane amount of kill games from them, winning them and putting themselves into kind of positions where they are. But Winstrike, they came in, they played really well. They took a high ground position on them. But overall, from Miramar, I really like to see how people they are rotating. I like to see when we see the kind of the hard shifts going away, they come in some with really clever rotations, and a lot of teams doing that. And I think at some point there will be too many teams doing that. We saw that in the first games. We saw 3 teams going really far north, and I think if teams keep coming in that slow, I think it's going to be an issue later.
It reminds me of the north of the river scenario in Erangel yesterday, this sort of overpopulation. But if we started today with an NPL circle, we definitely ended with PEL circles, right? One with cliffs, one with water, and that's sort of been the story of day 1 and day 2 for me as well. We started the tournament with an NPL day. It seems like we're going to be wrapping up day 2 with a PEL day if things keep going this way.
It's been a great start to day number 2 for me, and we have far more to come as well, as we have 3 more matches left to go. We've already concluded our first 3 with Brazilian Crusaders, NIP, and ENTS finally getting themselves on the scoreboard. We are going to go to a little bit of a prolonged break, I think, and we're going to be back at 3:45 GMT when things get on going. Or is it BST? It's BST. There you go. I just checked that for you. And also, then we will have Erangel, 3 matches of that as groups B and C continue to go to war on everything as things are going to be going on. We're going to have a lunchtime show in 10 minutes time as well. But for now, I believe we're going to be heading down over to Frankie, who's at the stage, who has some treats and delights for us, one would say.
Thank you very much, Claris. The treat and delight that I'm drawing attention to right now is our chair. Vertigear have sponsored this event. All our players are using their products. And Vertigear are actually the creators of the first wirelessly controlled RGB gaming chair, so you guys can game in style. Now, as Claris mentioned, we have got a halftime show for you. It's going to be hosted by Freya with Demon and Scoom. So don't go anywhere, because we're going to keep you entertained while the players chow down on some lunch.
Told myself to push and never stop. I've been stressed out, watching both these hands around the clock. With my eyes wide, trying to get the panorama shot. Whole world getting blurry to me, answers getting lost. So I watch my back and keep it moving to the front, and remember that the world's yours.
place, I believe, in MPL. Is there any other teams that you think have kind of come out of the woodwork and really shown their stuff so far?
I mean, NIP and Windstrike are both having a good day today. I believe they're second and third or something like that.
NIP obviously started off with a win, didn't they, game 1?
Yeah.
Not game 1, game 2, sorry.
I'm talking about that. They're the lower seeds. They came third and fourth in the leagues. And it feels like it's a pattern, this tournament so far. All the top seeded teams are struggling a little bit to adjust or having bad games. And the lower seeds, maybe they don't have that pressure. It's like, oh, people expect us not to do that well anyways. And they'll just, let's play our game, and it's working out for them.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, I just want to pick up on OMG today. That's their first day of games. Yeah. It's been a rough one, right?
Really rough one. And I've covered esports for a very long time, and I'm well aware of like how the Chinese social media will be onto them. They're going to be sat there having their lunch break, sure, but they might be just popping the phones out and looking at, I guess, WeChat in China. Obviously, they don't really have Twitter. But they are going to be getting a lot of heat from back home right now. The fans are brutal in China. I believe James found out just how brutal the Chinese fans can be when he said a few things on Twitter last night.
And something as a player myself, I think when you are having bad games, you should never be looking at social media whatsoever, specifically if you're playing in the day, because one little thing can affect you mentally, and it can just go over to the games, and you just don't want any distractions whatsoever, whether it's negative or sometimes even positive. You know, just stay grounded, focus on the game, and play after the lunch break. You know?
But I mean, as a player yourself, Skim, what else can you do when you're just having such? I mean, I know they've only played 3 games; it's only halfway through the day. What do you kind of do to sort of revitalize yourself and your teammates as well? Because it's not just you on the team. You've got to do it for all 3 other players as well.
Yeah, you just have to isolate the actual issues that you are having, like really focus down. Is it miscommunication? Is it your drop location? Is it the strategy? And or just individual mistakes? You just have to sit with your team and let's say it's only been 3 games. Like we have 9 games to go still for the group stage. So just focus on each game one by one and just try not to be tilted. Because a lot of people do get tilted quite a lot. And in a game like PUBG, it's so mental. Like you can get unlucky circles, right? You can play it as perfectly as you want, but sometimes it just doesn't go in your favor, right? And you can't just dwell on it. You just have to focus on the next game, and eventually it'll settle out.
The problem is they've been dropping Kumisera. They've got it all to themselves. They've had nothing like that. It's just been. They've just run into teams. They've got to look back at it. I mean, obviously. On the flip side, we've got the North American guys, Tempo Storm, in there.
Yeah.
They're in a similar situation. You know, this is a team that just dominated the MPL, absolutely smashed them to smithereens. It wasn't even within question. Even going into the final week, they'd already won the league. Like, they were just having fun. And not only that, they've won every single tournament. They've won lots of money in America and dominated it. All the championships and competitions they did, they were picking up these big checks and having fun on social media. Every picture they had, there's a giant check behind them somewhere along the line. They're now having a really bad time, though.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, also, I just want to talk about ENCE as well. Obviously, it's their second day coming into it, so it's a bit different. But first day wasn't that great of a showing, considering how much people had hyped them up, right, coming from MPL.
Yeah, and I think that's just the occurring theme. I mean, you have OP Rangers, who were #1 Korean seed. They ended up 10th place in the first day, ENCE were 11th place in the first day, and today on the second day, we have OMG that are placing well, and Tempo Storm. All the top seeds from NA, Korea, Europe, and China are all bombing out on the first day. And I think it's 2 parts to it.
Is it the pressure, though? Is it just pressure?
I think it's 2 parts. I think first part is maybe a little bit of mental, like the expectations of your whole region, expecting you to do well, and and you might hesitate in your calls because of it, because people expect you to do well, right? If people didn't expect you to do well, you just play your own game. If you make mistakes, you make mistakes. It doesn't matter.
How did you deal with it? Because you went into PGI with Team Liquid. I can see Beatzer and Co are all off the side at the moment, but you went into PGI as the #1 European team, and you guys actually did well at PGI. So how did you guys handle the fact that you're going to have that pressure, that expectation on you, especially from Europe, which is a massive scene, considered one of the best scenes in PUBG?
And I think that's my opinion why Liquid is why we did so well. I think is they have one of the strongest mentalities when it comes to PUBG, and all of the teams around the world. I think they can really refocus onto the next game if they have a bad game, and they don't get tilted. I've played with them. They don't really get mad at you. There's no like communications after it. Maybe sometimes here and there, but for the most part, they go into the next game completely fresh. And a lot of teams kind of struggle with that, with emotional side.
and today I wanted to tell you about Nivea's Milk-Lights.
I'm going to be performing Baby One More Time by Britney Spears.